All right, folks, welcome to this series. Right, this will be a 4-part series of a high probability trades series. Right, so in this series, we'll be talking about high probability trades. Right, those trades ideas that will make your account grow. All right, so the purpose of this is to encourage and to help those struggling traders, right? So I'll be using my experience to tell you what works and what doesn't work, right? Looking at the things that work and the things that don't work, right? That is why I'll be having this session, right? Please don't be tempted to skip any part of this because this whole teaching will be a series, right? I'll be building on what I would say here in the next of subsequent videos, right? So nothing is less important or nothing is more important, right? So one of the ways in which you can actually benefit from a lecture or a class is by paying attention all through, because you don't know where the idea or the information that will be the game changer is going to come from, right? So that is why you have to pay attention to everything I'm teaching you on this mentorship series, right? So this is the high probability trade series, and let's go straight to the topic, right? So now, when we're talking about a high probability trade, we will be dividing this series into two, right? We'll have the introduction. This is the first part of the introductional aspect of the series, right? So we'll have the introduction. Then I'm talking about what a high probability trade isn't and what it is, right? I'm just here to tell you what works and what doesn't work, right? So pay attention. Now, when we're talking about high probability trades, we're referring to a kind of trade setup, right, that has a higher probability, like the name implies. Now, for us to understand what a high probability trade is, we have to understand what probability means in the first place, right? So, for instance, when you throw a die, right, you know, a die has six sides. If you throw a die, right, once, the probability of getting maybe a 6, you know, it has 6 sides, right? The probability of getting a 6 is 1/6. That means the chances are just 1 out of 6. That there are 6 possible ways in which the die can result to can give a result. Get me? If you throw a die, there are 6 possible ways the die could actually turn up, right? It could be a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4, or a 5, or a 6, right? But the probability of getting a 6 is just 1/6. That is how the probability is. Now, if you now say, okay, what is the probability of getting a 1 or a 6? You can see that now you have a higher probability. The probability of getting a 1 and a 6 out of 1 through is higher than just a 6. So now you have a 2/6 probability. Now it is higher than what the previous odd, right? Now, if you say, okay, I want, what's the probability of getting a 1, a 3, or a 6? Now, you have 3 possible outcomes that will be to your favor, right? Let's assume that if you get 1, 3, or 6, you're going to win $1 million. Now, when they'll give you this opportunity to get either a 1, 3, or 6, you now have a high probability because there's a high chance of the die turning to a 1, a 3, or a 6 than it is to turn to only 1 or 6. You can see that the higher the chances or your selected chances are, the higher the probability goes up. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you. So a higher probability trade is a trade that has a higher potential to pan out, right? So that being said, welcome to this mentorship program, right? So before I continue, I would just like to bring to your attention something of very great importance, right? So I'll just be sharing that in the next few minutes, right? So I'll be taking you guys to my Telegram community. If you're not there, please find a way to, you know, join, right? So let me just take you there. So let me take you there, right? So this is my Telegram community. If you're not there, please do well to join. You can see that we are very active. Or not this one I'm looking at. I'm looking at, okay, sorry, my bad. So this is the my free Telegram community, right? So this is it. We look at this student I called today. You see, when I called it before it played out, I was like, okay, take a sell on U card and look at how it panned out nicely. Look at it's played nice. I even took the three. Look at it here. You can see the same trade setup. I called it before it played out, and you can see how it panned out nicely. And I kind of posted profits. Right? I kind of made my target. Had an amazing week, and all of that, right? So, what's the purpose of showing it? I want to bring it to an announcement. We have gotten our targets of our mentees, right? We have gotten the actual number which we'll be taking, right? So we'll be closing our mentorship program on Sunday. Sunday is the 3rd of September, I think. Okay, 4th of September, right? So we're having our class by 7 p.m. on Sunday, which is the 4th of September. And we are closing our mentorship program by then, right? So we don't want any new mentees to come and disrupt us, right? So we'll be closing it on Sunday, and we are giving a final discount. So if you want to join us, you can join us for 24,000 instead of 35 between now till Sunday, right? So if you want to hop on to our mentorship program, you will be able to join us between now and Sunday. And I just want to announce that we had 200 traders this month, right? So my students, one of them, he got funded. I'm very happy for him on the FT Niger Zuma account, and that was amazing. And then another one, he got funded on MFF, right? Look at it, he got funded on MFF. Look at the certificates right here. So you can see the certificates, right? It's not forged. This is my forest fund certificate. Actually got funded this last week, which was the this week was today's Thursday, right? That's September. So if you want to join us, just send a DM and join the discount, right? It's a one-time opportunity and it won't come up again. So we're closing our mentorship on Sunday. If you want to join us before we close it, you're free at a discount. All right. So now let's get back to what I was saying. Now, what a high probability trade isn't. Now, this is the first night, isn't it? It isn't 100% short trade. So I want to just bring this up before we start going into charts and all of that, right? It is not 100% setup. If you want to join our Telegram community, do well to hit the link in the description. You can just join that right away, right? It is not a high 100% short trade, right? Because many people believe that if it's a high probability trade, you can over leverage and all of that, right? It isn't a high probability, it isn't a high 100% short trade, right? So there's nothing as 100% short trade because you are not at the other end of the financial market, right? You may see a stuff that should play out, and maybe the market makers were not interested in moving price the way you think it should move, and they just do the reverse, right? There's no way to predict. The market is unpredictable, and a high probability trade is not a low risk trade. Now, I want to make this bring it to your consciousness that you cannot eliminate the risk components of trading, right? You can't eliminate the risk component of trading. Forex carries a high level of risk. That's why you can make so much a shitload of cash and still lose it in a day, right? You cannot eliminate the risk component of trading. Trading is risky, highly risky. If you don't want to risk, then go and settle down for your 9 to 5 job in which you are guaranteed of the salary. But when it comes to trading, there are no guarantees. All right. Now, a high probability trade is not a reason to over leverage. Back to the same thing. So it's not a reason why you should, over leverage. All right. It's not a reason to over leverage. Right. So all I'm saying here just boils to one thing, that a high probability trade is not a reason to neglect risk. It's not a reason to over leverage, and it's not a guaranteed trade. It's just a trade that like a die. Instead of looking for a 6, right? You're not looking for a 1, 3, and 6, a high probabilities, right? So if you trade a die and you're looking for just 1, like want it to be 1, the probability is lower than when you're looking for either a 1 or a 6. Or when you're looking for either a 1, 3, or a 6, you can see that when the conditions are better or has more variables, you have a higher probability. So that's what a trade is, a high probability trade is, right? Now let's go to what it is. A high probability trade is a trade with higher odds of panning out. So it's a trade that has higher chances of playing out. That's what it is. And it is a trade with many confluences. A trade that has many reasons. For instance, you want to buy the euro dollar and it has several reasons. Maybe the H4 is saying a buy, your indicator saying a buy. I don't know indicators, by the way. Your harmonic pattern saying a buy, your setup, whatever you trade is saying a buy. That is what we call a trade with many confluences. That makes it a what? A high probability. And maybe when it's during the New York session, Q zones, or any of those confluences, which I'll be talking about as we progress, right? And it's a trade you should use max risk on. So I want to talk about this max risk, right? When I say max risk, I don't mean you should over leverage. As a trader, you should have a defined risk parameters. That means for me personally, I don't risk more than 0.5% on the similar trade, right? Unless maybe the I could not round it up properly, right? Or maybe I made a mistake in the calculation. So I could not go for 0.6%. But normally I would not exceed 0.5%. So I could use 0.25%, 0.4%, 0.3%, but my maximum risk is what 0.5. And that is when I spot a high probability trade. So high probability trade traders should use your max risk. So if your high max risk is 1% maximum, then those are trades you should go with your high risk, right? Your maximum risk. I do not say you should over leverage, but a trade with what you higher odds of playing out. So if you have many confluences on a trade to pan out, then you can say, okay, let me go for my max risk. But what I'm still saying is that you should still adhere to risk management. You must have a defined max risk. If it's 1%, then let it be a max risk. If you see a trade opportunity that has the potential to pan out due to the many confluences and the higher odds, then you could go max risk, right? These are trades you can go hard on, but you should never over leverage on any singular trade because you don't know if it's a player. There are times I have seen trades that had very high odds of playing, but still not play. Then the trades I was even doubting, right? Like for instance, I was not even very sure, but I took it and you see played out. So trading carries a high level of risk and uncertainty. You can't know what's happening at the back end, and that is why you should always protect your capital at all costs. So in the next videos, we'll be going straight to charts and I'll be illustrating the kind of high probability trade setups, the components of the high probability setup, and then we'll be looking at several examples. We're starting on the total soup, right? So if you need the join our mentorship program, which is ending on Sunday for new students, do well to join us with the link in the description. All right. And until next time, please have a wonderful evening and be safe.